think it's recording. Yeah, it is. All right, the time's a little bit off, but we'll go ahead and get started. Hopefully, we can still make the end. We don't want to go over. I know you guys have places to be. So today, we're going to present. Did you have yours pulled up too, Cameron? Or do you need one? Yeah. We're going to present a few facts about salaries. There are lots of disclaimers with this. So the first one, I'll say that there's probably someone more qualified than me to talk about this. Some 30 or 40 year veteran would have been great, but it turns out that sometimes you're just the guy that gets nominated. If you don't mind talking about tough things, that happens to you. So talking about salaries with you isn't really tough, but talking about them in general or just kind of the view on that could be. So that's one thing. And so with that being said, I'd like for everybody to read the disclaimers on here. Mrs. Dale also put together some of these disclaimers so that you guys don't get the wrong idea. We just want to for there to be some awareness around salaries and what's out there and what value you may already have that you don't realize. It might make you feel better. And then we can answer some questions if you have some about some other things. Mrs. Dale and I worked on this together for a long time when we were at Elgin, trying to just get our pay better. There's a lot of things that were lacking, we thought, there, and it wasn't just the amount of money over base that we made or anything like that. There was just a lot of stuff that was old, and we thought that it needed some looking into, and so we did a lot of research on that. I'll say that she did all the organizational stuff and all the documentation. I just called people and chatted with them, visited with people when I saw them at ag events, and we kind of collaborated and put all that information together. She did a lot of research online and found stuff. The Tulsa World will list everyone's salaries as they're reported, which may not be accurate, but it does report like everybody that's a state employee or a school employee in the state of Oklahoma. So, did you have anything to add to that, Cameron?
Nope, just that we're here to mainly create some transparency and dialogue in terms of negotiations, benefits, and these last two, this is not to say new teachers, this isn't for you, but just saying that a lot of these, you'll have to have a track record before some of these things can become something that you can maybe use to gain.
Oh, that circle right there. We'll just leave it on the middle. Sorry.
Okay. And then multi-teacher programs, just that facet of if you're in a multi-teacher program, this looks a lot different because there's 3 of you working in the ag department or 2 of you, and so you have to be more lockstep versus a single teacher program. So just to explain that one. Yep.
So, some of the things that you might already have, or some things that also are easy to talk about, maybe to get you started. If you're at absolute base salary, and you want to try to work on that, there's a few things that are easy to kind of start the conversation without causing any hard feelings with your administration. Administrators' jobs, in my opinion, are to spend as little money as possible. They're trying to manage the budget, and they don't just unless the district is extremely rich or maybe they're not that great of an administrator, okay, a superintendent, then they're not just throwing money out there just because. So it's a sensitive topic because of that. They think they're paying you. You're making more than anybody else in the school probably except for the superintendent and the principal already. So for that reason, it's also sensitive to be like, hey, I need more money. A regular classroom teacher doesn't really have any coaches, and ag teachers have a little bit more room to negotiate for like over base salary, but regular classroom teachers don't. So if that superintendent was a regular classroom teacher, also be sensitive to that. If they were a coach, they probably can't do math. So, I'm just kidding. They may have taught math, and the kids can't do math. But so just be aware of those things. I talked with a superintendent just it was a couple of months ago. It was a job interview, and I went on it. I didn't wind up taking the job, and he tried everything, but he wanted to talk about the money in a different way than I was familiar with talking about it. So that was a challenge also. So sometimes they just don't understand. He wasn't an ag teacher. He doesn't really have anything to do with the ag program. So he wanted to just talk about it in total package dollars, and then he had a hard time telling me what was in the package exactly. And most ag teachers talk about it in like how much money they make over base salary. Okay, there's a lot of things that go into your salary though. There could be a lot of things. Some are very simple and some are not. We'll try to unpack that a little bit more here in a second. The way to kind of get, I was saying the easy things, sorry. Okay, so stuff that you may already get to do or that's valuable, in my opinion, is like driving your ag truck home. That saves you. I just was roughly figuring earlier today when I was sitting in at the end of one of the presentations, that may save you $1,000 to $2,000, depends on how far away from the school you live, but in fuel that could save you money. But it's not making your salary increase, but it's saving you money. You're keeping that money in your pocket. So that's a valuable thing to me. When I've negotiated for jobs in the past, that's been a question of mine in the interview is like, what's your policy on the ag truck? I want to know right off the bat. And it's pretty easy to ask that. And then at the job I currently have, the old policy was that they didn't. And I said, well, if you want me to come, then I don't want to park the ag truck. I'm going to park it at my house. My house is 2 miles away. It's just a convenience thing for me. It wouldn't cost me that much in fuel. Not that big of a deal, but I don't want to swing by there. So that's valuable to me. It's probably valuable to you if you do that. If you do get to do that, consider it a privilege. Not everyone does. In fact, like in other states, it's not a thing, and even in our state, and I could see in the future where it'd be less and less common. So if you get to do that, make sure you're taking care of that privilege and consider it a privilege, because not everybody gets to do that. Reimbursement, this is one thing at Elgin that I had a problem with, because when you're on the road a lot, you're spending money, for meals or whatnot. Sometimes you check into a hotel and you have to use your own card, and then they won't take the tax off, so you get hung with it. The school will reimburse you, but they don't reimburse you for the tax because they can't do that. So that adds up. If you stay in 30 hotels a year, that tax adds up. And so for those reasons, Cameron and I worked on getting, there was a long process. We got, I think, our per diem up to maybe $50 a day or something. And we also worked on getting school credit cards with our name on it. So then that way you can check into a hotel, or you can just buy meals with that card as long as you get the tax off of it. If you don't get the tax off of that, then they'll get mad, take your card away. It's just like the ag truck. It's a privilege. If you have a credit card, a school credit card with your name on it, mine has a $20,000 limit on it. They just increased it because I went on the senior trip, and I needed it to be, it was 10 and it got shut off, so I called Juliet, my secretary, and she increased it to 20. So they trust me quite a bit with 20. I could do some damage with 20 grand in a day if I just decided to leave. So they don't trust everybody with that. If you kind of build that trust and build up to that, it's really good. Cameron really did a lot in that regard with at Elgin. I don't know if you want to talk about the process of like how we got that conversation started with our superintendent.
It came down to being an inconvenience, and in a small school they found it more beneficial, instead of having the superintendent call and give his driver's license and do all the process. They said, and it was not a P card. They gave us American Express cards with our names on them and said, please make good choices. So it was in Bartlesville. There's no way in God's green earth they're going to give us a credit card or a P card probably. So I think that definitely is a school, deal. School size.
Yes. Well, and Elgin was 4A, but it was a very small school mentality because it's been growing up to that. Whereas if you guys are in bigger schools, that may be more difficult. I had a fuel card at one point, and I remember it was a fuel man, and only certain gas stations take fuel man. And just the peace of mind with the school credit card that I have, I could stop at any station. I used to be like, ugh, I'm not going to make it to the next fuel man station. I'm in like in Iowa or Illinois or whatever, looking at livestock, trying to find livestock projects for kids. It's a pain. So that's a big deal to me, and it saves me that hotel tax. It doesn't save me a ton of money, but it saves me a little bit of money. All these things will add up. Your fuel and your ag truck that you don't have to spend, that reimbursement stuff, those things add up to me. And so that's stuff that it's pretty easy to talk about and try to get done. I'm not saying it's going to happen, but you could at least try to visit that. There may have been some bad situation in your school, and they're never going to let anybody have a credit card again because somebody did something, made a poor decision, and that's just part of it. Also, you could work on maybe getting your school to pay your professional dues, which is around $400. I don't remember exactly off the top of my head. I could have looked it up, but you guys know you have to take that out of your pocket, so you probably know what that is. However, again, Cameron and I worked on, as Elgin would not, there's no way, shape, or form they ever would think about it. We just said that you pay the coach's dues, and we don't think that that's right, that we have to pay this $400 when really we think that us being members of these associations and being able to go to these professional developments and stuff is helping our students. So we think that that's helping our students as much as the coaches going and getting extra training or being a part of whatever professional organizations they are. And so we wrote a letter up, and we got it put into, did we get it put in our contract? So that's the rule. You have to get it put in your contract.
Well,
You
okay,
can't
so there's
just-
two ways. If the school's going to cut a check, you have to have it in your contract because they have to send the contract for your check. If your school will just reimburse you, you can just pay for it with your check or your credit card, and then they'll just reimburse you. So if your school has not weird reimbursement, and we were even just asking it to be paid out of 412. So that's money that already exists, and they ended up paying for it though out of 412, but there is the issue with the money for the lobbyists, so you can take that out as well and then pay for it with another, like the booster club or so, but just know that they will send it back. They will not, Career Tech will not take it without it in your contract.
Yeah. But that's something that if you're going to a new job, you're starting a new job, or you just want to visit with your superintendent that you've developed a relationship with, don't just go in and make that the first thing to say to them. If you've never talked to them before, that's not a good idea. But that's something that'll save you $400 again. It's not making your salary go up, but it's going to keep that money in your pocket. $400 every year, and you're still in good standing with all those organizations, and everything is it's a good perk, and not everybody has that. I understand. You may not get it. We didn't have that for a long time, but we worked. And when I started at Lomega, I talked to them about that right off the bat, and they didn't have a problem. So it's just small things that you can kind of get in there that'll save you some money without really costing. It doesn't really cost them any more money if they wind up paying for it out of a booster club. As long as you just have that permission first, you'll be good. So, and then teacher retirement. This is a big one for me. Not all districts pay teacher retirement. Lomega didn't, and I was very fortunate. A board member that I was close with before he got on the board, when he first got on, he asked me three teachers left, and we're a very small district. 3 teachers is a lot for us. They left, and he was like, "How can we keep teachers here?" And I said, "Well, a few districts around us are paying teacher retirement, and they're paying like just as their district base, they're paying a little bit more than us. So I think those two things would help us. I'm talking about regular classroom teachers. I got paid a little bit over base, but the retirement would help us all, and then to make those regular classroom teachers go up. And also, I said if there's any way you could get more school housing, I think, because there's nowhere to live there. Okay, it's a really small, remote area. So, and I was talking about that. He asked me a question, and I gave him an honest answer. It wasn't just to benefit me. However, they wound up doing all those things, and the regular classroom teachers make a little bit more money. All of us get a retirement paid, and that is a really good perk. A lot of them were mad because they made a compromise whenever a few years ago when we got the $1,200 from that they passed, the state passed. We only got 700, and the compromise was that they would keep the other 500. We're not on the state formula, and we would get the teacher retirement. A lot of teachers were mad, and we at the lunch table had an informal meeting, and I explained to them that that's $500 a year, and it's on my check right now. It's $275.73, I think. So every month. That again doesn't make my salary higher, but they don't take that out. The district pays that for me now. So if you guys have that, that's also a good perk. It's really, really good. $275. It goes up every year because you pay in more as your salary goes up and as your years go up. But so that number kind of is going to climb, not rapidly, but some. That money will stay in your pocket, and so that is another perk and another way that you can kind of start that conversation of getting your check to maybe be more take home. It's not going to be more on just that number that if you want to see a high number on there, like you want to make $95,000 a year. It's not going to do that for you, but it's going to make more in your pocket at the end of the month. Am I missing anything, Cameron? Other valuable items that I have or that I've seen, and Cameron works in she works in, 6A, so it may be different there, but like in a smaller school or Class B school, so some of these things probably happen in Class B school more than they would happen in a bigger school, but like a bus driver, if you really need to make more money, I bet you your district will sign you up to be a bus driver, okay? Or like Megan Thormasgard, she gets paid to drive the bus to actual activities. It's like $35. It's like a route. She gets a route fee to drive to like state convention or whatever. So that may be something, they don't do that for me, but that could be something you could negotiate. And also you could negotiate, or you could maybe run a morning route. I realize for ag teacher it'd be hard to run an afternoon route. That's why I don't do it. But if you need more money and you're willing to work, then I think that your district should probably do that. Nobody's like really fired up about driving a bus, I know, but that is something you could do. Or you could be a class sponsor. They make me do that at Lomega. It pays $1,500 to be the junior sponsor, and then $1,000 to be the senior sponsor. And then you have to go on the senior trip, where I've also brought home like another $500 because they give you cash, like they give the kids to take them. So that's something you could volunteer to do. I would not volunteer to do that, but they make us do that. It's part of our deal at Lomega. But if you want to get money without, just by working hard, that's usually how you make money. You don't make it by not doing anything. So if you want to work and you want to do stuff, I bet your district will sign you up. There's other ways to make money too. That may take more time, and it may be more of a hard conversation that you might have. And I put that how on this little form right here. If you add value to your program, add value to the community, gain skills, other skills through professional development or just learning as you go, as you work, make achievements or reach goals in your chapter, and have success, and be patient, it's going to take some time, then I think that most of you will get a call. You won't even have to go into your you may have to be willing to move, but you're eventually going to get a call if you do these things, and because there's a shortage of ag teachers, you didn't know. So eventually if you're doing a good job, somebody's going to call you, and at that point it's a lot easier to open up that conversation and say, man, I really love it where I'm at here, but I'd also, it would help my family out if I could make more money. And if they say, that sounds like something we could talk about, then you've already started the conversation before you even met with them. So superintendents will just reach out eventually if you're doing these things. If they reach out to me, then you guys are going to be good, okay? I've had 3 or 4 calls this year, and so I'm sure everybody in here is a much better ag teacher than me, and if you guys are getting after it, and you get lucky and win something with your kids or whatever, then somebody will take notice, and then especially unfortunately as time goes forward, I think there's going to be more of a shortage instead of less of a shortage. Now if you're not willing to move, then I wouldn't, try to start these conversations with your current administration. As I said, Cameron and I worked at Elgin. We worked a lot on trying to get these numbers up and put a lot of documentation together. We brought that to the superintendent, and his response was, well, you get to work at Elgin, and it's a great place. And that worked for a couple of years, and eventually Lomega called, and I said, I'm not coming unless it's this number. And they said, okay. And I called him, and he said, well, remember, you get to work at Elgin. And I said, okay, I guess I've bluffed enough times then. And I pushed all my chips in the middle and threw my cards on the table, and I was gone. So even though it was a good situation, I didn't want to leave. But eventually, if you want to make more money, I needed to make more money. I was having another kid at the time, and I thought it would help my family, so I did leave. And it's great. I mean, an acquisition job is an acquisition job, but I'm just telling you as another disclaimer that if you're going to throw things out there, that you're going to get caught. You can't bluff all the time. Eventually, if you're making threats, you're going to have to make good on them. So if you're not willing to leave, I would just keep your mouth shut. Okay. I think we've done a lot of disclaimers, so. Yeah. We'll go over, show what? My picture?
Yeah.
I'll try to break down this. This is just like, it's a picture of my pay stub. I covered up some of the things, but these things right here on this side are, that's like district paid stuff, and everybody they'll have like this $615 deal. That's your health care. The state pays that for everybody. You should understand how to read your pay stub. I was gonna, at my school, again, Class B school, we don't have like a human resources person. We just have Juliet, the secretary, the superintendent, who I'm not throwing stones at him, I'm just saying, I usually have to show him how much money I make on the salary teaching schedule. I have to pull it up every single year and go through my contract with him. And we have a good relationship. We just set and we make sure it's right, but we don't have a human resources person, as opposed to Cameron, who said, if you want to talk about, you worked with yours, I guess.
You hear work stories, and it's not like a long time ago, but of teachers that aren't getting paid the amount that they're supposed to be getting paid because whoever's doing their HR and salary stuff don't understand the career tech system and thus are shorting the money. And some people have figured out so many years late that basically they went, that sucks. That was a big oopsie on our part. Good point. We'll try to do better moving forward. So it's important that you understand and have looked at your paychecks and that you understand they're paying you correctly. And so like he said, we have an HR department, and so every time we do salary and teaching schedule, we ask them to break this down for us 100% and then make sure that we're getting the summer salary, that our stipends are correct, that they are reflecting the career tech stipend, all of that. And so it's important that if you don't know what this is and you don't understand how to read this, that you either talk to someone in your school that can help you, or you reach out to the State Department and they'll put you in contact with someone who can better discern to make sure that you're getting paid the amount that you're supposed to be getting paid in terms of the laws of career tech.
Yes. And so that's what I'm saying right here. This number should be, I've never gotten anybody else's pay stub, but it should be pretty consistent as far as what our healthcare is, like across the board. I don't know if it goes up when you get older or what, but the district pays that. They're required to. That's part of our contract. Every teacher should be having their healthcare paid for, and it comes right here. It's called the flex benefit on employee group insurance, okay? And then the rest of these on here are teacher retirement. The reason that there's different ones on mine, I said 275, it's actually better than that. So this is, they have like your above base or all your stipends and things like that broke out that's in your contract. And so that, if that goes in, that equates into the teacher retirement system. So that's one of these numbers. This was probably for driving a bus a few times or something, don't know. And this one is just like your overall, like your base salary deal. So, and obviously your base salary goes up every year if you make more money, like if you negotiate somehow to get more of a stipend, and it's on your contract where it goes in and factors into teacher retirement, then you'll have numbers like this on different lines. I'm not sure. I know this is kind of boring. I just want to make sure everybody knows it's important. And if you don't know, I'm running through this fast, and I'm no expert, as I stated earlier. You should talk to someone that is. There's a person at Career Tech, or maybe more than one, that if you got a hold of someone at our state office, they could connect you with that person, and they can run you through like all your retirement stuff and how your check should look, all of that. So if you don't, like me, if you don't have someone at your school, you can call up to the Career Tech and they can get you set up with someone that can make sure that you're getting paid what you should get paid. Probably just your district supervisor would be able to help you with that also. But if you really want to know, and as people get closer to retirement, I know that a lot of guys have called and just to check and, is everything good? What's my retirement going to be? They can tell you those things. Obviously everybody in here looks relatively young. We're probably not thinking about what our retirement's going to pay out. I would love to retire tomorrow, though, but it's not going to happen. So if I hit the lottery, I'll let you guys know. Over here on your check these are stuff that's it's non-taxed, so it shouldn't be taxed on your deal. If you have other family members on your, that's that my kids' health care on here and stuff like this is some districts offer like an extra life insurance policy. I think it's like $30,000 life insurance policy or something for $4. So that's what those things are, and it's before. So it's non-tax, but it does come out of my check. That's what this side is. This side is $955.28 that does not come out of my check. The district pays that. That's important because, as I said earlier, when I tried to talk to a superintendent about another job, he wanted to talk to me about that job and that pay in terms of the total package. And these are the things that I wanted to know. He wanted to say, like, I'll just throw a number out there. Like, I'm going to pay you $50,000 total, like for your whole package. That's not the real number, but just to be easy, $50,000. And I wanted to know what's in the package. Is the teacher retirement, or do you pay teacher retirement? And do you pay, is there any other, do you have any other thing that you expect me to do? How much would your stipend be? Like, how do you pay over base? And he had a hard time telling, he was the first year superintendent. He had a hard time telling me any of these things. So we had to sit down for around an hour and bring the financial person in, like the human resources person, and they kind of worked through it. And we just wrote down I wrote down numbers. Because ag teachers, as I said, usually talk about their payment in how much they make over base. And there's one story, as Cameron had kind of alluded to, the horror stories that you hear that people weren't getting paid what they said they were going to get paid. There was one group of very good ag teachers that thought that they were the highest paid ones in the state. That's what it was. That's how it was told to them. They made $15,000 over base. This is like for the last 15 years. And they find out that they were making $15,000 over regular classroom teacher base, which is probably around $5,000 over ag teacher base salary. So, and if you don't check into these things, then you may have wound up, I'm sure, as successful as they were, I'm sure if they would have said something about it, then they may have made an extra $10,000 a year a piece. There's two of them, okay? So they were leaving $20,000 on the table, in my opinion. Now, these are just my opinions. I've not even talked to them about it, so that's why I'm not saying any names, but you have to pay attention to what you're getting paid and make sure that it's what you think you should be getting paid, okay? That's pretty much how you read. I don't know if everybody's pay stub looks the same either, so apologize. This is just, mine have always looked that way, so I don't know if they all use the same system. Are we close? Yeah, is there any, let me see here. Extra duty we talked about. Oh, on the Career Tech website also, hopefully everyone knows this, but so if you just go to OK Career Tech and the Ag Ed tab, Agricultural Education tab, then you can go down and find the salary teaching schedule, and it'll show you. This is what I have to show my superintendent, and then I have to go through my last year's contract and show him what I made. So program funding on the page, and then they'll have, yes, salary minimums, and then so whatever. If you're a so it's after. If you're just starting, this would be your. If you have a bachelor's degree, this would be your base salary. This includes the $2,600 reimbursement. You need to make sure that your school is including that. Some schools don't. And then so it'd be, if you made $10,000 over base, if that's how you would talk about it, then you should make, if they say that to you, that we pay $10,000 over base, then it should be $56,521.20, just to make sure that they're not saying 50,000 over.
Yeah. Saying, oh yeah, we pay our teachers real good, and it's like, well, that's a 10-month contract that doesn't have our career check. So again, it's because they're not being informed themselves, that they don't think that they're lying, they don't think that they're swindling you, but you could be like, oh sweet, I love that, I'm never gonna look at my pay stubs, and like you said, you think that you're making it, and then come to find out their language actually didn't match the reality of the situation.
Yes. Is there any questions?
Does this go up every year, or does it stay pretty consistent? This is us asking as pre-service teachers, so we're kind of just like.
So on your, you got to make sure you're looking at the right line. This is a master's degree, so that would be Cameron's side. This would be my side. I don't know why I'm the one talking. Okay, she's got the master's, but yes, it goes up. So after you have 1 year completed, then you're on this line. So it doesn't go up a lot, around $500 on that, in that instance, but it's a little bit different every year, but it goes up every year after you've completed a year. So I'm on 8, so I had to tell my superintendent that it was this, sorry, make sure I'm on the right line, that it was this number plus the other things that we've negotiated that's on my contract.
Does it change from school year to school year? So like this one is 21, 22.
Oh, no, usually not.
Unless the state legislator or career tech passes legislation, funding changes, then it will change.
Go back up to the top, I think, 2019, it tells you that it went up then.
Yeah, 2019, this is the $1,220 that I referred to earlier. Our district's not on the state formula, so we had 700, plus we got the teacher retirement. But most of you in 2019 should have received an extra $1,220 on per year. So that's around $100 a month. After taxes, it's not going to be that, but depends on what your tax, how much you have in withhold. So that's hard to say. Yeah. The good thing about teaching ag, the really, really good thing about teaching ag is this is a good salary to start out with no experience, okay? The only problem is that after you have 10 years of experience, it doesn't reflect probably the experience or the skills that you've gained. So it's really, really good to start out to just, you don't have to move up. When you get out of school, you come out, you're an ag teacher. So you don't have to work up to being an ag. You're not an apprentice for a while. You don't have to do that. But so that's really good. That's really nice. The only problem is that there's nowhere to go from there, per se, and that's why there are some ag teachers out there that have kind of hopscotched around. Generally, the only way that you're going to get paid more is if you move. It'd be very hard to walk into your superintendent and tell him like, hey, I need $10,000 more or something. That's probably not going to work. So if they call you and say something and you really don't want to leave, maybe you throw that out there and maybe they dangle a big enough carrot and you're gone. So, but now I have family and kids, I'm not leaving. And so I'm probably going to be just making what I'm making, which it's fine. If I made the base salary, it would also be fine. I became an ag teacher to be an ag teacher. I like it. I don't want to move up to anything else. So another disclaimer, I'm not trying to.
I think that brings up a good point that if you do change jobs, the negotiations, the beginning conversations, that's the time to have it. That's the time to ask for stuff and put it in writing. Because if your superintendent who promised you the moon and back in the interview then ends up, I don't know, getting fired or leaving or whatever the case may be, all of that is now just storybook time. So get things in writing and don't be afraid to have those conversations. Your 412, who gets to use the 412? Do I get autonomy with that? Do you support me doing professional development? Is there money that I can tap into for that? Because like you said, that's going to keep more money in your pocket. And obviously as ag teachers, I feel like we're always just giving out money to do our job sometimes, and it doesn't have to be that way. At least from our experience and what we've dealt with.
That's true. Sometimes, a couple of years ago, I don't think you'll mind me saying this, I think it was 2 years ago, we pulled up to OYE to get bedding at Custom Wood Fibers, if you guys, probably where you guys get if you do cattle stuff. And Mr. Holloway was there, and they quoted him the wrong price, and he had like just a school check. So he wound up pulling like 200 something bucks out of his wallet and paying for the rest of the bedding. And he said, we just talked. I said, are you going to get reimbursed for that? And he said, no, not. We don't, at a bigger school, if you don't have a PO beforehand, they're not going to reimburse you. So at Lomega, I could have called Juliet and been like, hey, Juliet, I need a PO right now. I just had to pay 200 bucks. And so that's another perk for me being at a small school. I'm not advocating for everyone to be at a small school, but if you're not at a small school, you probably have to be a little bit more organized.
Or creative.
Yeah. Sometimes Cameron would just fill out, we would like together, we would, I'm sure you still do it, we would just fill out like 100 POs in July. And some of those would be reimbursement for Cameron Dale or Marty Jones or, okay? And then that way, if you do get hung once or twice through the year, you have a little bit of a backup plan. You can always cancel a PO later.
So going back to when you were talking about interviews and like getting stuff in writing, how would you professionally ask that superintendent or whoever you're interviewing with who does throw out these offers to you? Be like, how do you ask to get that in writing? Like, can you email or like, what do you do?
My last move, I asked them to email me. I wouldn't accept a verbal offer, I asked for an email.
Yeah.
My big deal was immediately truck out of living room.
Yeah, and it's usually a conversation. It's usually, for me, it's always been the second interview. It's never something that we're talking about in the first interview. And if they're calling over the phone and just trying to like, all right, this is it, let me know, yes or no, 24 hours, then you go, okay, well, I'm going to need some more information, either at the second interview, let's have something kind of wrote up, or the email confirmation after, I need this wrote up, and preferably by someone who has that kind of authority, if that makes sense, whether that is the HR person or the hiring person or whatever. You ask it in that manner. And just have your like list of questions, and it's nothing aggressive or entitled or anything. You're just trying to make sure that we're all on the same page moving forward and making sure that you are getting fairly compensated. And don't be afraid to, I mean, I know it's taboo to ask, and like I'm not saying go ask everyone tonight, like how much are you making? But I do think we do the salary and teaching schedules, and we have asked before for the career tech specialists, the area specialists, to provide that information for us, just to get an idea of what everyone's making. Again, because now you have more knowledge about, especially in your surrounding area, what's happening and what some opportunities are. So I've even seen people that like, for every state degree, they get $100 extra. Like,
Yeah,
okay.
that's true.
But
I actually got and I didn't even ask for this year. I'm not trying to brag either. I don't, hopefully it doesn't come off that way at all, but without even asking at all this year, I just found out about this like a week ago. Because we had some success on the state level, and just a really great year. I have some really good kids right now. They just gave me and one of the coaches $1,000. I mean, neither one of us asked for it. One of the coaches won a state title in girls basketball, and they agreed to do that for him a long time ago. And then our other coach won in track, and we had a really great year in FFA. So they just, at the last board meeting, they just said, hey, here you go. And I didn't say anything about applying for that other job or anything. I let my superintendent know, because I don't want to come back later and be like, because they'll hear about it. Superintendents talk to each other, so you don't want to try to keep anything secret. But without saying anything or even trying to get any more money, I got a little bit more money this year. So I promise you, if you try to do a good job in the future, it's going to get more and more tight, and it's going to start to happen for a lot more people, I think. They're just going to start if you're doing a great job, they're going to value you, and you're going to get compensated for it. Or you may get another job offer at a bank or something, and you can really make a lot of money. So the main thing is to do a really good job.
One last thing is, I track my hours, so that's another way to give tangible evidence of like how much time you're putting in outside of the classroom to help bring some evidence. So sometimes it's not always, especially in a new program like the accolade, maybe aren't just roll it in, but the amount of time it takes you to build that foundation. And again, if you have school board members, parents, or administration that don't fully understand the ag world concept and the fact that we're 12 months a year, it's not like a season, sometimes bringing that evidence through how many hours you're putting in, and if they go, well, that's great, we're not paying you more, maybe then you can reflect and be like, maybe I should cut back a little bit if I want to stay here, or look for other opportunities. So,
Do you track hours in the AET? No. That's what I'm not saying. There's with some anyway.
except
You could do it this way.
Google stuff.
Okay, and just for you guys coming to our this session, I stole the door prizes, and so just gonna toss them out. Thanks, Emily. That seemed like a good deal. Who likes sheep in here? You like sheep? Anybody? Sheep people? Sheep shower Cincy. That was. And we have, how about pigs? You like pigs? Sorry, almost smoked it. Okay, two sheep. Thanks, OYE. There you go. I don't know. Anybody back there? Oh, and we have a nice blue butt pig. There you go. All right. Thank you, Emily and OYE.